Moreinu v'Rabbeinu.
Shalom Amos.
I caught you in a good time.
Mm-hmm.
How are you today?
Thank God.
Yeah.
It's a Friday today. We're recording on a Friday today.
Yeah, it's not our usual time.
No. And one of the things we both have in common is that we both speak English and Hebrew.
Yeah, it is. It's a blessing.
It is a blessing. And many times we speak to each other in Hebrew, be'ivrit.
Yeah.
But this podcast is going to be in English, but we're going to incorporate some Hebrew into it.
You had the suggestion a couple of weeks ago we should do one just in Hebrew.
Yeah, we should.
Just to mess with everyone.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So, when did you learn Hebrew? Out
Well,
of curiosity.
I learned Hebrew when I was, from a young age, really.
Yeah.
Because I went to an Orthodox Jewish day school in Kindy. So since the age of really 4 or 5, I've been learning Hebrew. I moved to Israel when I was 10. I knew some Hebrew, and I was a good student. But then in my first Lashon test, the language test, I got a 30%. And I was devastated. And I was a good student, so I didn't understand.
Completely relate to that.
Yeah, I didn't understand why I was getting a 30%. Because I know how to learn. I'm a good student. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of a breakdown there. It was a grade 5.
Yeah.
But I picked it up really quickly.
Mm.
Really quickly. And I'm a fluent Hebrew speaker. I ended up getting in my Lashon Bagrut in grade 11, 95%. So, I mean, I got much better. I know, I guess because I was born in a non-Hebrew speaking country or outside of Israel, then my grammar is actually usually better than Israelis. Israelis have horrible grammar.
Yeah.
Except for the few that really care about it.
I think that's mostly true for any language.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Because the
People
locals take it for granted and they speak street talk or whatnot.
They speak mostly in idioms.
Mm-hmm. But also, right, for example, Ha Beit Knesset versus Beit HaKnesset. And things like that. You know, or especially in Hebrew where you have masculine and feminine. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
I didn't write down.
Doesn't exist in English,
Yeah. So masculine and feminine, especially when it comes to numbers, which are counterintuitive. Because you have shalosh, which is feminine, and shlosha, which is masculine. And then when it comes to word like how many, chalonot, shlosha chalonot. How many banot? Shalosh banot. How many girls? Shalosh banot. And Israelis will get that confused all the time. They use basically the feminine for everything.
Yeah.
Like shalosh banim. We're like, no, there's not shalosh banim. It's shlosha banim. And in English, what you don't have is you don't have masculine and feminine.
No, you don't have a gender article to the word.
So it's gender neutral or...
I saw a meme today, actually.
What's that?
It was really good.
Mm-hmm.
It was, what pisses you off? And he says, nouns. Really? Yeah. Places, people, and things.
That's good. That's good. Well, why don't you get into... We're gonna get into the difference between English and Hebrew.
Yeah.
We're basically going to prove, according to our personal theories, which language is a preferred language.
Yeah.
Or which language has...
Totally not biased at all.
Totally not biased. A little bit biased.
A lot biased.
A lot biased. But we are going to back ourselves up with facts, grammatical facts. And let's start with basically going to compare English and Hebrew. We'll let you, the listener, decide at the end which language you think is the superior language. English or Hebrew. We're going to make the claim, or at least I'm going to make the claim that it's Hebrew.
I think we agree on that one.
I think so.
We're not
but
going
let's
to
go ahead
disagree
and start
today.
proving that, picking it apart. English, of course, more people in the world speak English than Hebrew in the world.
Yeah.
It is considered the lingua franca, even though that used to be French, which is why it's called the lingua franca.
Yeah.
But English is the international language of the world. I don't know if it's the most spoken language, because that could be either Mandarin or Spanish. I think more people speak Spanish or Mandarin.
I think Mandarin
English.
and then Spanish is most widespread.
Widespread.
Yeah, in terms of
countries.
more countries.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of population itself, I think it's Mandarin.
Mm-hmm.
Just because China's massive.
Yeah, and even a lot of people in India speak English.
Yeah.
So English is definitely a spoken language, and when you're doing any international presentation, for the most part, it'll be done in English.
In English.
And English as a first language, English as a second language is taught all over the world, pretty much in every country. Yeah. Hebrew is not taught in every country.
No.
And there's a very select group of people, even a lot of Jewish people, don't know how to speak Hebrew properly.
This is true. Yeah. The basics of reading and writing, especially in Hebrew.
That's right. So let's start with, but we want to present English versus Hebrew because this talks about everything from a Jewish perspective. We're obviously going to side with Hebrew, but we have to back it up. So let's start with the first point. Which language is the most random language?
Okay, so the Hebrew word for fish, this is your favorite, it's dag, meaning that's the only thing you can say for dag. Singular is dag, plural is dagim. English is fish. Sometimes fishes, also fish, which is that's a random point in itself where we're not even gotten into the spelling yet of fish.
Well, that's not the random part, but yeah.
No, but I don't like it. I don't like when people say fishes.
Fishes is not...
It's not grammatically
It's
correct.
not ox versus oxen.
No.
Like sheep. You don't say sheeps.
Yes, don't say sheeps.
There's one sheep. And many sheep.
But people still say fishes.
People do say fishes, and that's wrong.
And I don't like it.
That's incorrect. Yes. These are things that really annoy me.
I remember learning that I could speak English when I was in school in Israel. Because my grandparents communicated with myself and my sister in English. So we knew English and spoke it at home as well.
Grandparents in India.
No, in Israel. Yeah.
Oh, your grandparents in Israel.
Yeah. So they went to the Ulpan. They learned some Hebrew, but they mainly communicate in English.
Right.
And I remember being at school and doing English, and I found it really easy because it was basic spoken English, not too much on the grammar and the writing. A little bit on the sentence structure. This is kita daled hey sort of thing. And they were teaching us plurals about fish, and it's also fish is the plural. So I thought, okay, good, that's easy. I knew that, but that's really easy. And then came here, and I've heard all of a sudden people refer to it as fishes, and I don't like it.
Let's get to the random part. So the question is, how do you spell Doug, and how do you spell fish?
Right. So Doug, real simple.
It's phonetic.
Yeah. Dalet Gimel. Most Hebrew is.
Exactly.
All Hebrew is.
I guess the language with English letters that's the most comparable to Hebrew that way is Spanish. Spanish is incredibly phonetic.
Yeah.
And it's hard to spell things more than one way. So in Hebrew, the D sound is Dalid and the G sound is Gimel. There's some overlaps like Chet and Chaf, and even then there's actual differences when you get into
there's differences in
the Het, which is supposed to be more of a throat sound versus a Chaf.
Yeah.
Which is a different sound.
More with your
tongue or with your mouth. Yeah.
With your lips. Yeah.
Het is like this. Or Ayin versus Aleph, which is Aleph is really a silent letter. Ayin is also...
Well, you hear the Yemenites speaking, and they very much do distinguish between those sounds. Yeah.
They also have a different one. But generally, most Sephardi or Eastern, you should say, Mizrahi or...
Taf and Tav.
Taf and Taf. Well, that's Yemenite. But
yeah,
there'll be a difference between like really hardcore Ashkenazim, like Taf and Saf.
Yeah. Shavuos,
right. But the Ayin is really much more of a Sephardi, North African, Iraqi thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ayin.
But getting back to Dab, there's only one way to spell it.
Yeah.
Daled Gimel. You could maybe, for somebody's name, do Dalid Aleph Gimel and stretch it that way, with the Aleph being silent.
Yeah.
Dag. That's about it. Right? Now, how do you spell fish in English?
Well, F-I-S-H.
Mm-hmm. But phonetically, it could be a lot of different things.
Yeah. Back at fish. So phonetically, you can spell it any number of ways.
That's right. You can, because the f, the e, and the sh sound could be spelled in a whole bunch of ways. So, sh, for example, could be sh, could be ch, could be sch.
Yeah.
But then you have when you make the sh sound when it's like tio, like fiction or information.
Yeah.
Right? Or cio, or there's no end to it.
No.
Right?
There isn't.
So, you could spell it F-I-S-C-H, or you could do F-Y-S-C-H.
Yeah.
Or F-Y-C-H. Or P-H-Y-C-H. Or P-H-I-S-C-H. Or P-H-I-T-I-O, technically speaking. Right? And kids, by the way, get widely confused about this, especially with dyslexia and phonetic. They'll spell like dress, J-R-E-S-S, because that's how it sounds, even though it's D-R-E-S-S.
Yeah.
This happens, and also you have another word.
Yeah, shower is also another one. So the SH in shower can be SCH. It can be the ocean, for example, is the sh is CE.
So you basically have to memorize it. It's very random.
Yeah.
That's the point. In Hebrew, if you say mazon, there's really only one way to spell that. Right? You can spell it maybe some variety. Like when it comes to the ch sound, you can get confused between chet and chaf.
Yeah.
You can get confused between how to make a zayin, how to make a gimel, because they're
in the written script,
mirror of each other in script and things like that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
How do you remember that, by the way?
Batman.
I remember that Gimel makes a C. And C is the third letter of the alphabet.
Nice.
So that's my wee trick to remember that. And if it's not a C, then it's Zayin.
Zayin. It's a backwards C. But English is a lot of memorization.
It is.
As far as spelling, even just spelling.
Yeah.
So ocean. Yeah, if you say, how do you spell ocean? Well, you spell O-S-H-E-A-N, or ocean, or maybe O-S-H-E-N.
No.
That's how it sounds.
Yeah.
Right?
And the O in the start can be O-H as well.
That's right.
There's no end to it.
There's
like
no
we
end
said.
to it.
No.
There's no end to it. So
it's a bit silly.
That's why English is the most random language possibly in the world.
Yeah.
Like, even think of all the suffixes. You have this in French as well. But in French, it's pretty consistent. But in English, like, how do you spell through? So a lot of people spell it today T-H-R-U.
Yeah.
Especially in America. But T-H-R-O-U-G-H.
Like S-O-X for socks. That's an American thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an American thing.
Except baseball teams, like the New Zealand baseball team, is the Black Sox. And they also spell it S-O-X.
Well, that's because of the Americans.
They're in New Zealand.
Yeah. But phonetically, it makes a lot of sense with an X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Phonetically, it does make sense.
So it's actually a good example of how it's phonetically spelled in an appropriate way.
But any other country doesn't spell it that way when talking in English, when spelling in English.
Yeah, correct.
So it's just an American
thing. But an ox is not O-C-K-S.
Yeah.
It's O-X.
Yeah.
So again,
but it could also be short for Auckland. A-U-C-K-S. That's also ox.
Yeah. There's no end.
Random.
It's very random. Now, and it's based on memorization versus Hebrew, which is based on a structure. And one of the reasons this happens is because all the English is formed from Latin and Greek and other languages that formed into English. English is not an original language.
No, not at all.
It's a compilation of other languages that preceded before it that do have their own alpha, beta, but compiled into English. And even English, the English of today, is an evolution of older English. Yeah. And I don't even know the whole history, so I don't really want to.
I don't know what the history is. I just know that Old English has a lot of thee and thine and there and other.
Yeah, but then there's even American English and British English and Kiwi words and Aussie words and different.
Like, if you go on Word, I think there's at least 10 to 15 different English languages.
Oh yeah.
If not one for every other country.
Yeah, even if you have like different things, like are you pushing a pram with your kid or a stroller? You know, are you renting an apartment or a flat?
Yeah, are you drinking soda or pop? That's another American one.
Or soda pop.
Yeah, soda pop.
That's right.
Drinking fountain and bubbler.
Drinking fountain? A bubbler?
Yeah.
What's a bubbler?
It's a drinking fountain.
I never heard that one
before. I think that's somewhere like...
footpath versus a sidewalk.
Or pavement. That's the other word.
Yeah, pavement, you see, is a driveway. Then you have, of course, why is a parkway where you drive fast on and where you park called a driveway?
That's a very good question. I can't answer that.
There is no answer to it. So there's all these funny things in the English language, and it's really not its own language, and we're not judging the English language because it's not its own fault. But however, it is very, very random. So if you really think about it, there's no rules. In Israel, when you learn English as a second language, you learn it very differently than learning English in an English-speaking country. You'll learn like present progressive, past progressive.
You'll learn the tenses
like
properly.
That. You never learn it like that in an English-speaking country.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, I was, she was, he was, they were. Right? They are doing.
Also, I find when they teach English externally, they teach the subjunctive as well. Do you know what the subjunctive is? No. So that's like talking about the hypothetical is an example. So you say, if I was to is wrong. That's grammatically incorrect. Because if I were to is the correct grammar. Because that's the subjunctive, not tense, but it's a rule.
But I was thinking.
It's pretty much dead in English within English-speaking languages. Because most people don't use it. I remember when I was learning Spanish, a big part of year 13 Spanish, I think, over here, is learning the subjunctive and almost perfecting that. In university, they put a huge emphasis on talking in the subjunctive.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So what can we say? God bless English. God bless the Queen. But it is very, very random, and it's very hard to pick up. So especially if you come from Hebrew.
Oh, that's another point, though. Like, English is supposedly the second hardest language after, like, Finnish or something to learn.
I thought it was Russian is the hardest to learn.
Russian also sounds very hard to learn.
Because it has its own letters.
Yeah. Hebrew has its own letters. It's not, I don't think, like, Arabic has its own letters.
That's also true. But Arabic is phonetic. Once you know how to read the letters.
Yeah. Well, it's similar to Hebrew in that sense. Similar sounds as well.
Yeah. Well, let's get into Hebrew for a moment. So Hebrew is a Semitic language. There are 3 Semitic languages. Hebrew, Arabic, and Aramaic.
Yeah.
So the Vav in Hebrew is a Waw in Arabic.
In Arabic, yeah.
And Aleph, right? They have very, very similar letters. Once you know how to read Arabic,
and similar words as well, like
Arba
and Arba.
Yeah, even like Moshe, Musa,
Ibrahim,
Daoud.
Abraham.
Daoud is David.
Yusuf is Yusuf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a different pronunciation. There's 24 different dialects of Arabic. So there's not one, but there is a literary Arabic or an Arabic that Arabit Sifutit, right? That basically everybody speaks or writes in. There are different dialects, just like in English. There's dialects, but essentially it's the same language. So you can go from Britain, Australia, England, Canada, New Zealand, and America, and pretty much understand each other.
Yeah.
With minor words. But you understand the whole concept, the language, the base language is the same.
Yeah.
Which is why people move between those countries.
Yeah, they typically look for those. Yeah, they have similar culture and they have similar languages.
That's right.
As well. For the most part.
For the most part. But when you get to Hebrew, so Hebrew is an original language. It's a language that we believe was given by God.
Yeah.
It has a language that he spoke. Either that or Aramaic. Now, Aramaic is interesting because Aramaic is known as the lingua franca of the time. Many things in prayers and in the way people wrote back in the Talmudic era, so much the Mishnaic era, but even possibly how the language that was spoken in the time of the Bible, the language that was spoken in the time of Daniel, the end of the first temple, for sure, was Aramaic.
Yeah.
Some of the books in the Tanakh are written pretty much in Aramaic. Like Daniel.
Well,
the Talmud is written in Aramaic.
The first part, Al-Achmania in Agadat Pesach, that's in Aramaic as well.
That's right. Aramaic was the spoken languages, which is why in Ushpizin, for example, when we welcome the guests to the Sukkah, which is, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David.
Yeah.
We say it in Aramaic. And why we burn the chametz, we say it in Aramaic.
Yeah.
We read a ketubah, the marriage contract, we say it in Aramaic.
Yeah.
Why are all these things in Aramaic? Because that's what it was the English of the time in Mesopotamia.
Yeah.
That was the spoken language.
Yeah.
Probably Avram Avinu and Yitzchak and Yaakov all spoke Aramaic to each other.
Yes.
Historically speaking. It's written in the Torah in Hebrew, though there are some Aramaic words sprinkled into the Torah, like Yagar Sahaduta and things like that. Safnatpan and Egyptian names. There's different names sprinkled in there, but the Torah is written in Hebrew. What makes Semitic languages different? Because they are based on the alphabet, which is the original alphabet.
Yes.
Like before
and it's not Greek. For everyone.
Well, the alphabet, as Rabbi Sachs of blessed memory taught when he gave a speech at the National Library in Israel, that the alphabet is derived from the Aleph Bet.
Yes.
Alpha, Beta, Gamma is an exact copy of Aleph, Bet, and Gimel.
Yeah.
With different symbols. And there's a difference, by the way, languages that are written left to right, languages that are written right to left. Right to left have vowels on the words, like we have in Hebrew vowels.
Yeah.
You have to learn the vowels.
Yeah. And it's
a vowel is not A, E, I, O, U, and possibly Y. Those are letters that are also vowels. Vowels are... And sometimes, he was doing the song, right?
Yeah.
The vowels are the actual vowel punctuation points. The cholam, the patach, the kamat, the a sound, the s sound, the e sound, the shva, which is a right, a mute sound, so to speak.
The oohs and the
ooh, oh, that's right. E. So essentially, it's A, I, O, U, all those same sounds, but they're not letters; they're vowels.
No. Yeah.
So Arabic, Aramaic, and Hebrew have letters, but you only know how to pronounce the letters based on the vowels.
Yes.
Versus the English languages, where the vowels are built into the letters themselves. The outliers, like French, it has different accent, and the C, right? And they have that little.
They have that in
German,
Portuguese, and Spanish.
A little bit, yeah, you do, yeah, a little bit, but not to the same extent.
Yeah.
That's one of the differences. Rabbi Sachs pointed that out, and I think that's fascinating. And Hebrew, Arabic, and Aramaic, especially Hebrew, is very phonetic. So the way you see the word, that's the way you read it.
Yes.
There's no two ways about it. But more importantly, it follows a very, very clear structure with very few exceptions.
Yeah.
I'm talking about proper Hebrew, not modern Hebrew, which incorporated a lot of English words into the Hebrew language. Talking about the original Hebrew.
The Torah
example.
Hebrew.
So let's take a couple of examples.
Yeah.
For example, a yeshuv is a town.
Yes.
Right? So yeshuv comes to... The point is they're root words.
Yeah.
There's 3-letter, sometimes 2-letter, sometimes 4-letter root words. And those root words form nouns, verbs, sometimes adjectives with those same root words.
Yeah.
Or places. And you know the meaning of the noun, the verb, the adjective, or anything else based on the root word.
Yes.
So yashav or yashva means to sit or to dwell.
Yeah.
So a yeshuv is a dwelling place. Why? It's derived from the same root word.
Well, a settlement. Yeah.
Settlement.
No, like settle. Yeah.
Right, where you settle, where you sit down and you settle. That's right. You have the word Torah, right? The Torah. Why is the Torah called Torah? From the root word yud resh hey, yara, which means to teach.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then you have very interesting, right? Yara could also means to shoot, which means you're aiming at a target. And when you're teaching, you're aiming at a goal. So you see there's connection between the root words because it's an intrinsic meaning to the language.
It's very much connected to the word itself.
Right.
And you don't get that in English at all.
No, you don't have intrinsic meanings to words. Like to teach is not... Maybe it's derived from a Latin word to teach, but there's no inherent meaning in the word teach.
Yeah.
Teaching is just the
I think
word we use to describe...
Yeah, words in English in terms of stuff like saying biology or chemistry and words like that.
Right,
I think
the
that
science of
it's
bio.
Like, but that's also derived from Latin, not...
That's the thing, but again... Chemistry, meaning I'll give you another example. For example, shamayim. Shamayim is a great example.
Yeah. Water over there.
It's sham, mayim.
Yeah.
There is water.
Yeah.
What do you mean? It's for the sky. Shamayim means sky or heaven.
Yeah.
So why does it mean sky or heaven?
Mm-hmm.
Because the waters were separated in the second day of creation.
Yeah.
And there was water and sky.
Yeah.
So there was mayim,
Mayim and shamayim.
And shamayim. Also mayim.
I explained that to a friend of mine actually.
Yeah.
And when we point to the sky nowadays, he just says, "Oh, there's water there."
Right, because sham means there and mayim means water. But even take the word mayim. Actually, just thought of this. Mayim is mem yud mem.
Yeah.
Right. And backwards, it's also spelled mem yud mem. Because when you look in water, you see your reflection. So there's like intrinsic meanings.
Yeah.
To the words themselves, and you can go on and on and on.
It's like a couple weeks ago we did. This was Friday night, one of your shiurim when we do Kabbalat Shabbat.
No.
Sheker.
Oh, sheker, yeah.
Yeah, and it all stands on one foot.
Oh. So sheker and emet.
Yeah.
Right, a truth and falsehood, and this is actually an example I give people, especially the Christian groups or non-Jewish groups that come through the center. And I want to teach them a little bit about Judaism and about the Hebrew language and how it's different than English. So I do the whole fish thing for like 2 minutes. And that throws them off. Because they're like, they can't say I'm wrong because they know I'm not wrong.
Yeah, but they're like,
well, English is still better.
No, it's better. And you're stupid.
All right,
Stop it.
Let me show you this. There's true and there's false. Okay. Now, in English, in Hebrew, this is a whole different level. Now, the letters themselves, and the way the letters are built, are written, have intrinsic meaning.
Yes, yeah.
Right? So that's what this is. So the word for truth is emet, aleph, mem, taf. And they all have either two in print letters, not script, but print.
Yeah.
The way it's written in the Torah, for example. The aleph has 2 legs, the mem has a wide base, and the taf has 2 legs. The word for falsehood is sheker, shin kuf resh, which in the Torah, not in modern Hebrew, but in Torah, the way it's written,
the shin has
it's like a triangle base, which means it only stands on one point. Kuf stands on one leg, and resh also stands on one leg. Kuf is essentially a resh with another line that's disconnected from it.
Yeah.
Which is a long line from the beginning. It's disconnected. So meaning they both stand on one leg. Because if you're standing on one leg, you're eventually going to fall. If you have 2 legs to stand on, which is also a phrase in English, that means you're standing on solid ground. You have truth.
Yeah.
It's you have substance. You have evidence.
It also reminds me of your other one, which is the sukkah. Was it your grandfather or someone?
We'll get to the sukkah. Yeah. But but emet and sheker go one step further.
Yeah.
Because sheker can fall down and emet can stay up. That's why it says emet meha'aretz tzmach. Truth will from the roots it will grow. But also, the aleph is the first letter, mem is the middle letter, and taf is the final letter of the alphabet. So you have the entire context.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the whole truth. Nothing but the truth. Right?
Yeah.
The whole truth. Sheker are not the exact order, but they're the fourth last, third last, and second last letters in the alphabet.
Yeah.
You're taking the truth, you're taking something out of context.
Yeah.
And if you take something out of context, it's not true.
Yeah.
So meaning... But think about that. You don't have that in English or any other language. No. That level of intrinsic meaning to the word, to the way the letters are structured. You don't have that.
Yeah. Podcast over. Hebrew wins.
Hebrew wins. Mic drop.
Don't drop it.
No, I'm not going to actually drop them.
It's expensive.
But now you're getting to sukkah. So you remember, so how many walls?
Yeah, so
sukkah is a structure we build on the Feast of the Tabernacles, otherwise known as Sukkot.
Sukkot. So it's either 4, 3 or 2 and then one
and one
handbreath.
That's right.
Yeah.
So how do you remember that? My grandfather, Zichrono Livracha, taught me this. Right? A sukkah, samech, is the letter is built with 4 sides.
4 sides.
It's basically a square. That's one of the corners are like rounded.
Like rounded. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you distinguish
Kaf
between samech and mem
is 3 letters. It's like a backward C, but like with right angles.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And then a hey is like a resh with a little dot. It's like with the dot that's disconnected from it, but basically it's 2 plus a little bit. So you remember 4, 3, or 2 plus a little bit, and that's the word for sukkah.
Yeah.
So meaning in the word itself is the laws of how to build a sukkah. I mean, it's wild. It's unbelievable. It's a great way. It's a great tip to remember it as well.
Yeah.
But it's really, really, really wild.
I can think of all my Goim friends that are like, that's a bit of a stretch, but no, it's not. These are the rules.
It is not. Then you have, for example, names, right? Why was Avram upgraded to Avraham? Because he became Av Hamon Goim.
Yeah.
Right? With the Hey being Hamon. So it's Av Hamon.
Yeah.
So the father of many nations.
Orthodox Judaism gives intrinsic value within the name of a person.
Noach.
And it has, well, supposedly has influence on the person's personality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, that's correct. So Noach had grace or charm in the eyes of Hashem, which is the word chen. So Noach matzah chen beinei Hashem. Noach found a favor, if you will, or a charm or grace in the eyes of God. And Noach, spelled backwards, is chen. So, like, in his name is the personality, what he represents.
Which is a name in its own right.
Chen is also a name. I know a lot of people named Chen. I know a guy named Chen Chania. That's a great name. That's a great name.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's a friend of mine in Yeshiva. Even for example, my name, Ariel, is the name of, it means 2 things, either the lion of God or the fire of God.
Yeah.
That fiery personality. But it's the name of the Mizbeach, which was the altar. Because on the altar, what do? You burn things. You burn things. Right? Yeah. Barbecue.
Yeah.
Sacrifices. So that's why it was called, that's why Jerusalem, and specifically the altar in the temple, is called Ariel.
Yeah.
So Ariel became one of Jerusalem's 70 names.
70 names, yeah.
And in the name is the meaning of the word itself.
Yeah. So let's get into a bit of the rules in Hebrew. So we touched on the shorish, the root word, and intrinsic meaning. The other thing that Hebrew has that English doesn't have is a gender article. So every word has a gender, like we mentioned earlier. The numbers, say echad and achat, shalosh and shlosha, that they have the gender that sets their sort of the rules for the
like
sentence
every
and the
object
word.
is either masculine or feminine.
Yeah.
For example, Shabbat is feminine.
It's feminine.
Shekhinah, God's presence in the world, is feminine.
Mm.
The Torah is feminine.
Yeah.
But God is referred to in the masculine. I won't get into that debate right now. Why?
Sometimes.
God
other
is referred
times
to in the
than not.
masculine, but his presence is referred to in the feminine.
Yeah.
Because God is neither masculine or feminine.
Yeah.
Right.
It's neither.
Correct.
But English doesn't have that.
No. But everything, like a chair, is masculine, right?
Yeah. Kiseh.
No, kiseh, right?
Kiseh.
A shulchan is masculine, right?
Yeah.
But then you'll have things like menorah, a light, which is feminine.
Feminine. I don't think there's any false friends in that. Is there?
Yeah. Well, there's the when you have either im, usually at the end. For example, how do you know how to say it in plural? You either do im, yud mem at the end with a chirik with an e sound, or ot, vav taf at the end with an ot.
Yeah, and im
right?
is masculine. Or
So for the most part, im is masculine and ot is feminine. So,
yeah.
But there are outliers like arba imahot for mothers, but shlosha avot. You don't say avim.
Yeah.
Say avot.
Yeah.
Even though an av is a masculine.
Masculine.
A father or a principal. Right. That's also another thing. Like I mean, I can go on. Like av means a father, but av also means a principal.
Yeah.
With ple.
Yeah.
Right? Not pal. Ple. Like principled. Like 13 principles of faith. Right. So. Because
not the guy that's in charge of the school.
Correct. Not the guy in charge of the school.
Yeah.
So they tried to convince me one time when I was in grade 4, because I'm your they did principal and principal.
Yeah.
Which is how you spell principal for the administrator, the actual person.
Yeah.
Because I'm your pals, and then all the students went, "No, you're not." That was a fun moment. Well, really, you said it mostly quietly because we were Canadian, but that's what everybody thought. You are not our pal. You're the principal.
Oh, not until can act friendly until you're in trouble.
Something like
that. Let's touch on sayings in Hebrew because they make no sense in English. Well, they make sense. They just don't translate well. So your favorite saying is?
My favorite saying, if somebody goes to a restaurant, they have an unbelievable time, and you're trying to convince your friend to come to the restaurant. So you're like, come to this restaurant, chaval al-zman ata tamut. And when you say that, and when you translate in the moment, and your friend's like, wow, I have to go there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in English, it would translate like this.
Literally.
Hey, Amos, come to the restaurant. It's a waste of time. You're going to die. Now, in New Zealand or anywhere else, try telling your friend, hey man, it's a waste of time, you're going to die, you've got to eat at this restaurant. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, my friends will laugh at me. You know?
So then
they'll go anyway.
They might go, but they'll say, wait a minute, if I'm going to die, that's one thing, but don't waste my time. Right?
Yeah.
You know, but because in Hebrew it means it's a waste of time not to go there.
Yeah.
And you'll die for it. You die for it. I mean, that's really what they're trying to say. Like you die.
It's so good.
You would put your life on the line.
Yeah, you'll be like, that's what they're trying to say. I'm done.
But it comes across that it's a waste of time. You're going to die, and people are like, wow, that must be really good. And you have all these English speakers scratching their head, saying, why would he go there if it's a waste of time? And they're going to die. Like, why would you go? Dude, you're not really going to die. But he says you're going to die. No, he doesn't mean you're going to die.
Oh, the other thing is when you call people kapara.
Kapara, yeah. Kapara, my atonement. You're like, you're what? You think like the guy's doing confession on you or something. Kapara, mommy.
Yeah, mommy.
Yeah. Mommy. Trying to call somebody mommy.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Or not going to go down well.
It's not even mother. What is mommy? I don't think there's a translation for it.
No, it's very slang.
It's like dear. That's slang.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing. In Hebrew, there's so many languages that have infiltrated, if you will, or been incorporated into the Hebrew language because there is an actual official body that governs the Hebrew language and
Yeah.
inclusion in the Hebrew language officially, then you'll get what's called lo azit, which means words in other languages that are now incorporated in Hebrew. So you have, for example, televizia is television. Informatia, information, right? Emancipatia, emancipation, telephone, etc., etc., etc.
And then you get the words that were invented specifically to be used in modern Hebrew, like glida.
Glida, yeah.
Yeah, it's like not in the Torah.
Then you have onomatopoeias. Onomatopoeias are one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I don't know how to spell onomatopoeia, even today.
That's okay. I don't think you need to, but that sounds...
Just to explain to everybody is, the word is based on how the thing sounds.
Like bang and zap.
Bang, zap, right. So in Hebrew you have bakbuk.
Yeah.
Because when you drink a water bottle, it's a water bottle, it sounds like buk, 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 buk. So
that's good.
It's called bakbuk.
That I also told there's water there friend. I told him that.
The bubbler.
and he only remembers bakbuk.
I know.
And arnak for some reason.
Arnak, yeah. Why is arnak?
I don't know why arnak is arnak. But he only remembers those two words. And he remembers the explanation for Shemaim, but he doesn't remember the word for it.
Then there's things like Pam Shlishit Glida.
Yeah.
Now, I never understood that till I was older. Meaning, if like you meet somebody and it happens the third time, you say ice cream.
Yeah.
It made no sense.
Third time ice cream.
Like, the third time, like somebody has to buy somebody an ice cream, basically.
Yeah.
I thought it was like an Israeli thing. It comes from...
I thought it was an Israeli thing.
No, it comes from English.
Yeah.
Where the third time... I'm going to scream. I scream.
Yeah.
Like SCREAM, right?
Yeah.
Scream. So Israelis heard it and then, third time ice cream. So they translated it as
glida?
Glida. And that's how it originated.
Yeah, glida's good though. That's alright. I like that rule.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm the benefactor there. Then I'm not complaining.
Third time ice cream. So third time glida. Funny. So hopefully we've convinced you a little bit about the fact that, and also Hebrew was given by God. But even without pulling that, the spiritual, the rabbi card, if you will, Hebrew is just a very systematic, understandable, intrinsic language.
Yeah.
The world, and this is another topic we may segue into at some point about male and female today and the perception of it. And that's a whole other topic. But Hebrew says, yes, there's masculine and feminine. The world is divided into masculine and feminine. And I'll leave you with some things are both masculine and feminine in Hebrew.
Yeah.
For example, and Rashi brings this down in Parashat Va'ishlach, which we're about to read, I believe, not this week, but next week.
Yeah.
Which is the word machaneh. והיה מחנה האחת והיכהו, אחת mean one in the feminine. When Jacob was preparing to fight his brother Esau after coming back with his 4 wives and all his kids.
Yeah.
To Canaan after being in Haran in exile for essentially working for Lavan for 20 plus years. Yeah. So now he's coming back with his whole entourage, his whole family. Esau comes with 400 men to fight him, and he has to split 2 camps. So machaneh ha'achat v'ikau, if Esau wants to hit one camp, v'haya machaneh ha'nish'ar liflei the other machaneh, which is a camp, meaning half of his kids, right, essentially.
Yeah.
Ha'nish'ar that will be left will be able to retreat, which is either an actual war tactic or simply survival. Like we're a big family, we're going to travel on 2 planes. God forbid something happens to one plane, at least the whole family's not going to die, kind of thing.
Yeah.
As a risk management.
Yeah.
So either or, but the first time machaneh is mentioned is echat, which is one in feminine. The second time it's mentioned nish'ar,
which is masculine.
So Rashi immediately on the spot comments, how can machaneh be both? And the answer is, it is both. There are words in the Hebrew language that are both masculine and feminine. And then he gives other examples. Derech, which means a way or a path. Ruach, wind. Shemesh, the sun. There's different words that are both masculine and feminine. So, and each time that we know what's masculine, what's feminine, it again gives it intrinsic meaning. Does it have the male qualities? Does it have a female quality to it? So, for example, the one thing I really like, when God does something in the world, it's much more of a masculine kind of energy. That's why we relate to God for the most part in the masculine.
Yeah.
People have a hard time with that. Like, why is God in the masculine? Why not the feminine? Are you chauvinist or whatnot? It has nothing to do with that. God is referred to in both. Because when he does something, it's just like the man goes out to the world and does. And man is more innately external. Not to say that women can't be external.
No.
But even the reproductive organs in men are external. And for the women they're internal. So I mean, it's just the way people are designed. There's no better or worse. So whenever we say God does, God commands, God this, it's very external. So it's a male representative of God. There's a female representative of God, which is when God settles in the world.
Yeah,
the
Shekhinah.
The Torah brought the Shekhinah, God's presence in the world, is feminine. Right?
Yeah.
Because the feminine energy is to nurture the world. That's why women can get pregnant and men can't.
It's a question for you that just popped into my mind. It's somewhat related, not really. So in Lecha Dodi, which we sing tonight because it's Friday, is that sort of the joining of God as a masculine and a feminine?
Oh, that's interesting.
Because it's like Rat Kala, and Kala is Shabbat,
Kala,
and then
who's
female.
Kala? Kala is Am Yisrael. So we're referred to as Kala, and God is our Chatan. God is our husband, if you will, or our what's his name? The bridegroom.
Yeah.
I never understood bridegroom because is he a bride or a groom?
Bride.
But that actually is a groom.
Together.
The bridegroom. Is the bridegroom together?
Yeah.
Or is it just a groom?
For the bride. You can use either. So it's bridegroom is the formal sense. And like
so essentially it's a groom. And
I think that's also like an old English thing.
Yeah, it is an older,
But groom.
But God is essentially
groom
the
is
husband marrying the wife or the kala, or the bride, and that's our relationship with God. And all of people of Israel are referred to in the feminine.
Yeah.
But again, as an energy. Not to say that everybody in Israel is feminine. So you have people that are male, people that are female.
Yeah.
But so again, but each one of those things in Hebrew takes on a meaning. Is it masculine or is it feminine? Takes on a meaning.
Yeah.
Whereas English, you don't have that, and it's very difficult for people to transition from English to Hebrew.
Yes, it is.
Or from English to Spanish or to any other language that has masculine.
Yeah, any sort of language, because English speakers struggle learning other languages.
Yes.
Regardless, I think.
And people can learn English, but English speakers struggle learning other foreign languages, which is very true. Because they don't have this kind of dynamic.
Yeah. Okay. I have a funny story.
Okay.
To possibly end. So, my sister, my sister, and we were sitting on the bus. And we were discussing, but we were kind of talking about someone who presented themselves as quite the hipster. But we were wanting to talk in Hebrew. And hipster being a pretty modern word, we didn't know what the word would be in Hebrew. So we thought, okay, so it has hip in it. So it's what's hip in Hebrew? It's a moten. So we'll just go for motnaim. So whenever we see someone that looks a bit hipster, we go, hey, Shoshana, this motnaim. And we pointed and then we showed our cousins that. And when we went to Israel 2 years ago now, we asked our cousin, what's hipster in Hebrew? And she goes, hipster? Hipster. I go, no, that's not fun. So we started calling it motnaim. And she now calls it motnaim as well.
Yeah, in Hebrew, a lot of these things, like I always say about the there's so much English that's infiltrated into the language. I say infiltrated because it's a good thing to a certain extent, but then it's gone way too far.
Yeah.
So you have, like, for example, the rear axle is one of my favorite ones. The rear axle in Hebrew is called rear axle. Now, what is the front axle called? It's not called the front axle. It's called rear axle kidmi, which means kidmi, which means the front. So the front rear axle.
Yeah.
Like, come on, how bad?
Or the rear axle of the front.
Of the front, yeah. It's really bad.
Which is a more fun way to
Yeah.
explain it, I think.
Pure excellence. So Hebrew has gotten so ridiculous. And I
Yeah.
always tell people that move from English-speaking countries, you're going to Israel, he said you already know a third of the language because they already speak English.
Mm.
Like, you have Israelis that go, oze, or whatever.
Yeah.
And they'll go,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean, whatever?
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Like whatever. That's what they mean.
Or they say...
Or they would say mashu, or kolshu, or lo meshana.
They get surprised by something and they say, "Oh my God!"
Oh my God! Yeah, they say, "Oh my God!" Oh my God!
Like,
It's like they do actual Hebrew words for you to use. So a lot of Israelis don't know Hebrew today.
yeah,
It's just very sad.
But it's,
They don't
I think,
speak Hebrew,
it's
they
very
speak
similar to any other country where most locals don't necessarily follow the grammatical rules of it, which speak in idioms and local.
Yeah, but you don't have Israelis go, אני רוצה לדבר איתך בסך רחוק. I want to go through the sach rechok, which is a telephone.
Yeah.
Or let's go for a tuzig today, which is a picnic.
Yeah.
Or a picnic. Right.
You want It's sort of old, not old Hebrew, but
Tuzig.
old modern Hebrew.
Yeah. That's good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Hava nelech letuzig amos. Right? And you're like, no. You're living in a different era. Like Shakespearean Hebrew.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that covers it. Oh, look, hopefully we've convinced you that Hebrew is a superior language to English.
Because, yeah, we agreed today.
We did.
Not good.
No.
But that's okay. Because
let's disagree next time.
hopefully everyone else disagrees with us.
Hopefully everybody else disagrees
Yeah,
with
so
us.
disagree
So,
with us in the comments. We'll
Please.
love that.
Please, and share it.
And
And
argue
show
with
how
us.
much you disagree with us in the comments.
Yeah.
That's right.
And yeah, it's been fun. Follow our Instagram, EUTS_podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. What else is there? Follow us on Spotify. Follow us on Google Podcasts, I think it is. And Anchor.
And share it. Share it with your
Share
friends.
it with your friends, family, whoever might be interested. This is not meant to be just for the local Yehudim, the local Jews. It's meant for everyone.
Absolutely.
Because it's just good fun. Yeah, and this has been Everything Under the Sun.
Mm-hmm.
And
Amos, thank you very much. Shabbat shalom to you.
Shabbat shalom to you, and everyone should have a good weekend.